Hey Sam, I think I finally understand Plato's theory of forms. I've been reading about it for hours, but it's so abstract. Have you studied it for your UPSC prep?
Yes, but I still find it confusing. There's this whole idea of forms or ideas, and Plato talks about how everything in the material world is just a copy or imitation of these perfect, eternal forms.
Exactly. That's the core of it. Let me break it down. So, Plato believed that the material world we experience with our senses is just a shadow of a higher, more perfect reality, the world of forms or ideas.
Wait, so you're saying that this world we see and touch isn't the real world?
Right. According to Plato, the world we see with our eyes is always changing, imperfect, and temporary. But the true reality, the forms, is eternal and unchanging. For example, think about the concept of a circle. Every time we draw a circle, it's imperfect. It might be squished or not perfectly round, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I've never seen a perfectly drawn circle. There's always some flaw.
Exactly. But in Plato's view, the form of a perfect circle exists in the world of forms, independent of any physical representation. This perfect form is the essence of what a circle really is. Everything in the material world, like our imperfect drawings, is just a poor imitation of that ideal circle.
So, if we're talking about the world of forms, does that mean there's an ideal version of everything? Like an ideal tree, an ideal chair, even an ideal human?
Yes, precisely. For Plato, every object, quality, or concept in the material world has a corresponding form. There's the perfect form of a tree, the form of beauty, the form of justice, even the form of love. These forms exist beyond space and time. They're not physical objects, but abstract, perfect ideas that our world tries to replicate.
So, if these forms are perfect, how can we ever know them? We only experience the imperfect versions of things.
Good question. Plato believed that we can come to know the forms through reason and intellectual contemplation. This is where his idea of the philosopher comes in. Philosophers, according to Plato, are the ones who seek knowledge of the forms because they're not distracted by the physical world. They use their intellect to grasp the eternal truths.
But how does that help us in everyday life? I mean, we live in a world full of imperfections. Imperfect people, imperfect societies, imperfect governments. How does the theory of forms apply to all that?
Great point. Plato's theory of forms isn't just a metaphysical idea, it has practical implications too. Plato believed that knowledge of the forms could help us understand concepts like justice, beauty, and goodness in their purest forms. So, when we're trying to create a just society or be good people, we should aim to align ourselves with these perfect forms.
So, if we want to build a just society, we should look at the ideal form of justice and try to shape our society around that?
Exactly. Plato's idea was that philosophers, or those who understand the forms, should lead society because they have a deeper understanding of these eternal truths. That's why he proposed the idea of philosopher kings in the Republic. The rulers should be people who can see beyond the physical world and understand the true nature of justice, goodness, and truth.
That's interesting. But does Plato think everyone can access the forms, or is it only for a select few?
Plato believed that everyone has the potential to access the forms, but only those who dedicate themselves to philosophy and intellectual development can truly grasp them. He also thought that our souls are immortal, and that before we're born, our souls have already encountered the forms in a previous life. So, when we recognize something beautiful or just, we're actually recalling those perfect forms that our soul remembers.
Wait, so you're saying we've seen these forms before? Like in a past life?
Yes, exactly. It's a bit like déjà vu, but on a metaphysical level. Plato thought that learning isn't really about acquiring new knowledge. It's about recollecting what our soul already knows. It's a kind of reminder of the perfect forms from before we were born.
That's fascinating. All right, you've convinced me to dig deeper into Plato, but don't expect me to stop being skeptical.
I wouldn't have it any other way. And for our viewers, keep questioning and exploring. That's the true spirit of philosophy. For more, subscribe and press the bell.